Right, so day 4. Port scanning. Okay, cool. So we do... During the investigation of the downloaded GitHub repo OSINT task, Elf Recon McRed identified a URL, qasantagift.shop. This is probably used by all of the elves with admin privileges to add or delete GIFs on the Santa website. The website has been pulled down for maintenance, and now Recon McRed is scanning the server to see how it's been compromised. Can you help McRed scan the network and find the reason for the website compromise? Let's start the box. So we're going to learn what is scanning, scanning types, techniques, and tools. Scanning is a set of procedures for identifying live hosts, port services, discovering the operating system of the target system, identifying vulnerabilities and threats in the network. These scans are typically automated and give an insight into what could be exploited. Scanning reveals parts of the attack surface for attackers and allows launching targeted attacks to exploit the system. Scanning is classified as either active or passive based on the degree of intrusiveness to gather the information about a target system or network, as explained below. So passive scanning is a method involving the scanning of a network without directly interacting with the target device. Passive scanning is usually carried out through a packet capture analysis tool such as Wireshark. However, this technique only provides basic asset information like OS version, network protocol, etc. Active scanning is a scanning method whereby you scan the individual endpoints on the IT network and retrieve much more detailed information. An active scan involves sending packets or queries directly to specific assets rather than passively collecting data by catching it in transit on the network traffic. Active scanning is an immediate deep scan performed on targets to get detailed information. These targets can be single endpoint or a network of endpoints. So different techniques the following standard techniques are employed to scan a target system or network effectively. Network scanning usually comprises of a collection of interconnected hosts or network of computers to share information resources. The scanning helps discover and map the complete network, including any live computers or hosts, open ports, IP addresses, services running on any live host and operating system. Once the network is mapped, the attacker executes exploits as per the target system and services discovered. For example, a computer in a network with an outdated Apache version enables an attacker to launch an exploit against a vulnerable Apache server. Port scanning. In networking, a port is a number assigned to uniquely identify a connection endpoint and direct data to a specific service. At the software level within operating system, a port is a logical construct that identifies a specific process or a type of network service. Port scanning is a conventional method to examine open ports in a network capable of receiving and sending data. First, the attacker maps a complete network with installed devices or hosts like firewalls, routers, servers. They scan the open ports on each host. Port numbers vary between 0 to 65536 based on the type of service running on the host. Port scanning results fall into the following 3 categories. A closed port, this host is not listening on that port. Open ports where it's actively accepting a connection, and filtered ports where the port is open, however the host is not accepting connections or accepting a connection as per certain criteria, like it must have a specific source IP. Then vulnerability scanning proactively identifies network vulnerabilities in an automated way. This helps determine whether or not the system may be threatened or exploited. Free and paid tools are available to help identify loopholes in a target system through a pre-built database of vulnerabilities. Pen testers widely use tools such as Nessus and Actionix to identify loopholes in a system. Then scanning tools like Nmap. Nmap is a popular tool to carry out port scanning, discover network protocols, identify running services, and detect operating systems on the live hosts. You can learn more about the tools by visiting the rooms Nmap, Nmap Live Host Discovery, Nmap Basic Port Scan, and Nmap Advanced Port Scan. I've done videos on those already. Deploy the virtual machine by clicking the Start machine at the top right of the task. And you can access the tools needed by clicking the Start Attack Box button above. Wait for the attack box to load and launch the terminal from the desktop. Type Nmap in the attack box terminal. A quick summary of the important Nmap options are listed below. You can do a TCP SYN scan to get the list of live hosts and associated ports on the host without completing the TCP three-way handshake and making the scan a little stealthier. So what that means is there's a three-way handshake when they first meet, and you do a SYN, which is the first bit, then an ACK, which is the second bit, and then the SYN ACK you'd reply to as a final step. But if you just send the SYN and then never respond with a SYN ACK at the end, then this potentially, it doesn't really, but it could bypass it if a scanning detection tool was just looking for the full connection. So you run that on the VPN, aren't I? So we can shut down that nonsense. Needs to be root, so sudo nmap. So we got port 22, port 80, port 139. Thank you for the follow, Roki. And 445 are all open. We can do a ping scan. This allows live hosts in the network without going deeper and checking for ports or services. That's the SN command there. The operating system scan allows you to determine the type of OS. That's the TAC O. That's the only difference. And then detecting services, so SV will detect the services running. Then Nikto is an open source software that allows scanning of websites for vulnerabilities, enables looking for subdomains, outdated service, debug messages, and you can access it on the attack box by typing Nikto host. And I think I've got Nikto installed, so we can do that as well. So you know it's running an Apache server. It's got a couple of headers missing. Let's leave that running while it's doing its thing. Elf Recon McRed had run Nmap and Nikto tools against the QA server to find the list of open ports and vulnerabilities. He noticed Samba running. Hackers can access the system through loosely protected Samba shares. These are folders that are not protected over the network. He knows that the Bandit Yeti APT got a few lists of admin usernames and passwords for QA SantaGift.shop using OSINT. So let's connect to the Samba service using the credentials that we found yesterday through the source code. OSINT task, type the following command into the address bar and use the following username and password. So I'm going to need a box. So probably create a new Advent of Cyber for this. Let's do. So from here we can just type up smb 10.10.120.226. Ignore the one in the screenshot because that's not correct. It's just taking me there directly, so I can click on admins, registered user, username is ubuntu, keep the domain, and then s@nta2022.
You can map that to Explorer.
Yeah, it's done that automatically. Look down here. So now we've got that. We've got like a permanent link to admins now, so we can get the flag in the user list. What is the name of the HTTP server running on the remote host? So now we can actually answer some of those flags. So it's a Apache. Let's copy that. Or I can just stop the scan and break everything. So Apache. What was the name of the service running on port 22? So 22 is SSH. What flag can you find after successfully accessing the Samba service? So this was the flag txt. Let's open that. It's THM Santa SMB server. And then what was the password for the username SantaHR? Oh, cool. So it's just in a word list. Sick. So it's Santa25. If you want to learn more about scanning techniques, we have a module dedicated to Nmap. Which again, I've done that room already, so that's done. But that's basically it for day 4, which wasn't too deep a dive. I was expecting a bit more than that. But, yeah, it's pretty cool. Just gives you a little taste of how to scan a network, how to connect to a SMB share, and how to run Nikto, which is a bit different than Nmap. Although one thing I would recommend is doing Rust scan instead. It's way better. So 120.226. Like, look how rapid this is. Wow. And it will also do the Nmap scan anyway, so it will stick all of this at the end of that scan. Once we give it a sec. There it is. So yeah, another option if you want to play with that. I terminate my box. And I think we're done. Let's... What have we got? Hannes is live.
Who's present and version, so it will
Cool. All right, we'll send a raid over to Hannes then. Let's raid Hannes. Yeah, be back on tomorrow. Probably about this sort of time. Whenever they feel like dropping room 5. Or it could be 7 p.m. like yesterday. But yeah, we'll continue doing the rest of these as they come out. So see you tomorrow. Ciao.